Okay, we are live. Okay.
Oh, perfect. So we are here with Sid, that is one of the founder of Roll, right?
Yep, that's right.
How
Hey
many
guys,
founders?
glad to be here.
How many founders Roll has?
Yeah, so we're two of us. So that's me and Bradley. I think you've been in touch with Bradley as well.
Yeah. Do you have a different background?
Yeah, so like I guess by way of background, we're both researchers in the crypto space. So my co-founder Bradley, he started as a founding researcher at CoinDesk. And he was, that's where he started like his crypto journey from. He was responsible for these big state of blockchain reports that CoinDesk used to write, like these big 100-page reports about what's happening in the blockchain space, just like a research from a higher level. I was a researcher as well, so I've worked for several publications, including CoinDesk, which is where we met originally. But my job as a researcher was much more into diving into specific tokens and specific projects. So this was back when Ethereum was pre-Ethereum as well, but also kind of work ramped up while Ethereum came out, and a bunch of different projects started creating their own tokens. But because you can program whatever you want into the token, so like one token can be very different from another one. So that's that was kind of what I used to work on. And before that, my background's also in technologies. I was the CTO of a financial company in New York and London. And then before that, I was at Bloomberg. I was a software developer in trading solutions.
And can you give to the community an explanation of what Roll is and how it's born?
Yeah, so we can think of Roll as building infrastructure for social money. So what we really look at social money first is, you can almost think of them as branded ERC20 tokens, but the fundamental difference between what social money is and what the attempts came before that is that it is fundamentally owned by the community. It's not even owned by Roll. So we do believe in providing tools and software solutions for communities to kind of build and explore all the use cases, bring value to their community and so on. But ultimately, even we are never in control of that. So I think that's like very powerful and speaks to a lot of people. Our goal is also to bring social money. So we already have many Web3 integrations with Roll. So you can think of, like Uniswap is like a good example. OpenSea, there are like many marketplaces that sell digital art, in-game currencies, in-game assets in social money. We have integrations with like Sably or DeFi Zap, a bunch of well-known DeFi projects that you guys talk a lot about as well. But what we really want to do going forward is also to bring that to the Web2 world. So you can think of these as being like bots on Discord, on Twitter, so that sending someone social money is as easy as sending a tweet on Twitter or a message on a Discord channel.
Yeah. And how born the idea? So how do you come up with the idea? Because it's very, I mean, now you see Roll and you see, yes, it should exist, but how do you come to the idea of Roll?
Yeah, that's a good point. So like I said, like both me and my co-founder kind of come from a research space in the crypto side. And what we were really interested in was like, can we use like the fundamental building blocks of crypto to kind of like change the dynamics of online social media? And the insight there was that if you look at the social media platforms right now, so cumulatively your Facebooks and your Instagrams and Twitters and Reddits and all of those platforms, just the platforms themselves are close to cumulatively more than $1 trillion of market cap. But if you look at the value that's generated, like Facebook doesn't write content, right? Like Reddit does not write their own content. Like, so it's not generated by the platform. So to us, it felt like most of the value was being generated by the users, but most of the value is captured by the platforms. And what we were interested to do was, that's obviously a much harder and bigger problem to solve, but like with social money, we think we can at least shift the power a little bit towards content creators and a little bit away from platforms. Because ultimately the value is kind of, with social money is owned, the social money itself is owned by the community. So even if Roll tomorrow became a platform and we provided some service which we don't really want to do, but even if we did that, like, you can always decide not to use that platform and you still have the same value for your social money.
Yeah, and so why, when you explore this kind of market, maybe you come up, okay, I can do maybe a new social that maybe give rewards to the content creator and so on. So why not realize also the infrastructure for social? I mean, like Twitter, like Facebook, why just focusing on the rewards infrastructure and value transport, basically?
Yeah, but that's just the first place for us. I mean, ultimately, for anything to become money, in our view, it needs to be transacted. So there are, generally speaking, two things that come, right? Even if you look at something like Bitcoin or Ether, you do have for any money, you always have a sense of stored value because people believe in that money. So for Bitcoin, for example, it comes from, censorship resistance, your store of value kind of a use case, right? Ethereum comes from, hey, using this for applications that cannot be censored and decentralized. For social money, it comes from your community and your belief in that community. So that's from the store of value side. But then store of value is not enough, right? Like we do have to have, how do you make transactions easy? So when we built Rolls, we also made a very conscious decision that we should, even from day one, like even though we're a very native Web3 kind of a system, that we want to be able to support Web2 platforms. So right now you can use, if you go to the Roll app, there's like one place, but there's literally just one place where you have even the word like Ethereum or crypto, because it's a very Web2 friendly way, just using the app. And then once from the app, let's say you withdraw your social money to your MetaMask, then it lives everywhere on the web. That's your very traditional ERC20 token.
Yeah, very clear.
What was the first example, the first case of social money that you did, and what's the track record then? So how many social tokens did you issue? Sid?
Hey guys, I think I may have lost you guys there for a second. May have been on my side.
Yeah, no problem. Okay.
I was asking, what's the first example of social money that you did? So the first case, and what's the track record over the time? So how many social tokens did you issue?
Yeah, so we are close to 100 communities right now, and we have like a type form which we get created. So we have over 300 people who are also like in the pipeline to issue, so we can ramp that up pretty quickly. But we are very focused right now on trying to build on quality communities. So we are pretty restrictive in our beta phase, just to see how best the platform works and all the toolings right, and before we expand it out much beyond.
What's the first one? What was the first?
Yes, actually, the first one is super interesting, actually. It was a creator called Laurel. And she is a Instagram, think of her as an ASMR influencer. I'm not sure if you guys know what ASMR is. It's kind of this like a response from specific sounds that kind of give you like a tingling sensation in your spine. That's a very internet native like behavior. But you'll be surprised by like how many. So she has like about 250,000 followers on Instagram. So these are like niche, but very, very well followed. And the funny thing is, like, she has, she had no understanding of Bitcoin. Like, she never held any Bitcoin. She never held any Ether. Like, that just wasn't her world. But she still saw value in issuing with Roll and issuing her social money. And even to this day, like, she uses, like, just yesterday, she had, like, 5,000 tingle drop for 100 of her users, and all 100 of them got, like, claimed out within a few minutes. So, she still like uses the platform. She still finds value from Roll. So that was actually very encouraging from our side, because social money is not restricted to crypto native people, because like we can abstract all of that away and just explain the core value proposition to the end users, and they still find it valuable.
Sorry. No, please go ahead, Simone. I can do that.
What kind of services do you provide to these, issuers?
Yeah, so you can think of it as, so there are two primary ways, right? Like one is kind of rewarding your community, but the other is also curating your community. So on the rewarding side, you can think of, think of things that are valuable to you as a community or as a creator, right? So in Laurel's case, for example, she thinks that having more Patreon supporters is good for her because that's also one of the primary ways that she gets support from her fans. So what she started doing was every month, if you support Laurel on Patreon, in addition to some of the Patreon perks, you also actually get a lot of tingles, depending on which tier you are in, because that's what's valuable to her. Think of another, we had another, so it can be very specific as well. So we have creators who use, so we have a lot of artists on the platform. That was like our biggest niche that we have. So a lot of crypto artists, you can find them on Roll and using their social money. So they had done, for example, you write a send post and you want people to read the post, or you write a newsletter and you want people to read the newsletter. So you include a link at the bottom of your newsletter. Just claim 100 Hue, which is one of the social money. So now people have an incentive now to read your newsletter. So you have like good open rates and people know what you're doing.
So basically, incentivate people.
Exactly, like whatever is valuable to you as a community, right? Like in your case, for example, if you let's say like have a meetup on some Saturday, and you are afraid that maybe not enough people will come, you can just incentivize them with Italia and say like, hey, whoever shows up in person gets 1,000 Italia. So that means more people will come.
No, this is clear in interesting. I mean, social money is a concept that as you develop the platform like this, if you want, you can share the screen. If you want to let us see, maybe also to our community, how is the front end and whatever. But I know that our members are already exploring it. But yes, it's so easy that also Web2 guys can use it. What I was thinking is that in the DeFi role fits very well because it's so pluggable in any things that we have here. So you mentioned Sublier for streaming payments, but also maybe other platforms like Uniswap, for example. So it's very easy. But I'm thinking about also Unlock, for example, that allow you to see protect. You can build paywalls. So basically, like you're reading newspaper or newsletter, as soon as you read the free content and you want to access to premium content, you have to pay with a specific token. And using something that has value, but at the same time represents some sort of loyalty or membership to a community, it's very valuable in this sense. So I see Alex and Calvin. I think that I get at first Calvin has a token, and
Nice.
I want to ask to you, what about the current communities or markets that you have? I mean, crypto. How many crypto artists do you have, and how they are using the token?
Yeah, that's a great question. So actually, we think so. We have a lot of different users, as you have seen, like Calvin and Alex, and Cami, who's a journalist, and like all over the place. But when we think about who Roll is catering to, we think of these as very broadly 3 categories so far. We'll have many more categories down the road. And we think you're probably like the 4th category, like an emerging, like more decentralized meetup kind of thing. So we'll make it 4 soon, I think.
We are.
First category, yeah. So the first category for us was crypto artists. So these are very, like they are into crypto, but their native language is art. They're not traders. They're artists first. The second people are what we call like streamers. So like Pygo's here, for example, he's a streamer. He streams games on Twitch and DLive and Mixer, Caffeine and Fifth platform as well. So they're like pretty active all over the place. And then the third category we call like builders. So these are like builders, entrepreneurs, investors, newsletter writers, journalists. So these are people like your Laurel, your Cami, your Alex, people doing DAOs and things like that. So that's like high level 3 categories for us. Crypto art is super interesting for us because we pretty much found like pretty instant market fit with that community. So one of our biggest artists on the platform was Conti Digital. So he issued a token called Hue on Roll. And Hue lets you get very specific like art from him. So you can get like random collectibles. Hugh really lets you become a part of his community because he has, he's always like good with coming up with creative names. So he has Hugh as his name. So he has like human as the Ethereum subdomain. So yeah, he owns like the ENS domain human.e. And you can actually signal to the broader community that you are a super fan of Conti by actually using a human subdomain. So for example, my Ethereum address is tied to sid.human.e.
Yeah, we have something in mind also for the DeFi Italy community, but we don't want to anticipate too much.
Yeah, but it's just like a way of like conspicuously showing people that, hey, you belong to, you collect this person's art, like, you belong to this, because a lot of art is about that connection as well. And it's not just, owning a JPEG or something. So yeah, these are like just, some of the things that he had done with his social money. We've integrated a lot with, as I was saying, like he does pretty interesting things with, like incentivizing people to read newsletters, read his posts. He did super cool treasure hunts in a VR world called Crypto Voxels. So basically he kind of created his art on the walls inside this VR world. And just randomly at places you have the ability to earn some Q. So if you find it like a treasure hunt, then you earn like 1,000 Q. So yeah, very creative ways that we could never think about from our perspective, but we just gave the tools to these artists and they just, did a much better job than we could ever do in telling them what to do.
Yeah, that's clearly interesting.
And,
also,
do you have ideas to issue your token?
To issue like a token on like a roll token, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we deliberately went away from that because I think it would be a distraction from the communities that we're building. I mean, there may be a world in the future where that might make sense, but we think that right now it's not. That's not the right move for us.
Okay. And right now, what's the business model of Rolla? So how do you make money, and what's your goals for the future?
Yeah, so we make. So again, this comes down to like our philosophy as well, like as founders and being someone who is kind of both of us being in the space a lot and seeing a lot of different models. So we believe in investing long-term in the rural communities. So our business model is very straightforward. We don't take money when social money changes hands. If you're trying to send someone social money, we don't take a cut of that. We don't take transaction fees there. We don't take any of that. What we do take is 12% of the max supply for the social money that's issued on roll. And we believe, and like many creators have told us that they really like this model because essentially roll succeeds only if the creators and their community succeeds. So there's no, so we think like our incentives are very strongly aligned to make sure that whatever we are building at roll is strongly connected to the success of the communities that are on roll.
Clear. And
this 12% is a lock, is vested, how it's issued?
Yeah, so we have so that's a good question too. So we also, maybe I should have mentioned this before, but one of the benefits of issuing on roll is that we also standardize all the economic parameters of every token issued on roll. So when you're thinking about all these tokens, it's very hard to keep in track. For example, like what's the difference between rare and spot? Like it's very hard to keep track. But what we do is we make it very simple. So at issuance, everyone gets 2 million. And then the maximum supply of all the social money on roll is 10 million. And the remaining is vested over a period of about 3 years. So with that standard economic parameters, it becomes very easy for people to understand different social money. So for example, if you're a member of, if you've already used Hue and you are, Conti Digital's fan, Rare is another super talented artist from Venezuela.
Yeah.
And you immediately know what Rare is. You don't have to like go in here and see like, oh, what's the supply? Like how much does he have? How much is out in circulation? All of that's kind of gone away, right? So we actually see some very strong network effects there, and the barrier to entry becomes lower for the end creator that comes on the platform, because we already have more than 3,000 users on our platform who everyone understands what your social money is now.
And how do you avoid, for example, shoe rare? So I mean, if I go in your platform, I can issue a token without any control and issue another rare, maybe confusing the users, or do you have some checks?
Yes, actually, there is no way to issue directly on Roll yet. We haven't opened up the platform at all. And I don't think we'll open up the platform for several months, even as we onboard new communities, because so every person who has issued on Roll, all of these people that you see here is someone who has spoken with Bradley or me. There's no single person here who we don't know and have spoken to like in person, like we're speaking now. And so we think that for the initial few days for us, like having that control is extremely important. Because we want to build. So exactly the problem that you mentioned, because someone can just issue whatever they want, or someone just issues something and tries to scam, because the space has a history of not being good with some of the things there. So we definitely don't want that on Roll for now. Yeah. So for example, to answer your question directly, like you wouldn't be able to issue another rare. Like one, we have checks on our smart contracts and our backend as well. But second, you will have to talk to us. And if you say, oh, we want to issue rare, we will just tell you like, hey, we already have issued rare. You can't do it.
Okay.
And I would like to ask you, Sid, what's the hardest challenge that you faced with Roll, with bootstrapping the activity, or maybe some new challenge that you are encountering?
Yeah, that's there is like any startup, it's been like many ups and downs in our journey. I think when we started off initially, we were so our pitch to, because our success depends on the communities that we onboard. So when we were talking to a lot of creators, I think we were still using language that was familiar to us as people from the crypto world. Mm-hmm. So we will say things like, like your value and tokens and, like fixed supplies and inflation models and, talk about that. But it was very clear that, creators in general, like don't care about that. Like they want you to care about it and make sure everything is correct. But like you cannot like tell them, like they don't care. It's like, oh, we have like an inflation rate of something. Like no one cares. They don't really care about that. What they care about is like the value that you bring. Yeah. So even if you look at our app right now, so, you think of wallets like one somewhat crypto word, but it is something that creators understand. But the language is very simple. It's like you can send, you can receive. And if you go into like any social money, like you can see, so you have the concept of like rewards. Like rewards is something that's very familiar to users. Like they can see like, oh yeah, I know what rewards means. On the creator side, it becomes something like an earn code. Like, oh, I know what an earn code is. Like I can earn some social money. So I do some action, I earn some things. So we have like really simplified that language very much now to the point that anyone who comes on Roll and anyone who is new can more or less like understand what's going on with a lot of these things without having to be a crypto native person.
Yeah. I think that this is the problem, basically. That one of the problems that you basically solve with this platform, and it's not easy. And I would like to see more maybe Web 2 people that start to onboard to Web 3 thanks to Roll, because they maybe start to understand time by time this kind of challenges. And
actually, it's a very interesting because like this is Laurel, when I was telling you guys about, and she's so she had like 100 available. So 15 of them were redeemed yesterday. And we didn't talk to everyone, but we have spoken to some of her fans. And not a single one we spoke to had ever used crypto or Ethereum. So technically, like social money, like Tingles is their first crypto ever that they've held. So we are really happy to see that onboarding for these people.
So it's the Web 2 on ramp we're using Roll. Yeah. Basically.
Yeah, man, totally.
And what about Sid? About the some sort of overview of how many tokens are issued? What about the volumes exchanged? So, what do you have in plan for the future? I mean, from a user perspective, would be nice to have some graphs or tools to see how the value moves between back and forth for the communities. Would be interesting.
Yes, actually.
Yeah, exactly. Integrating the question of Emiliano, also the value. So how the value is moving, the average value of the token over the time.
Yeah, so these are like really interesting questions that we ask our creators too. When we launched the MVP, we were just prioritizing different things over showing that information. So we prioritized like the transactions and like ability to send to another user. So like as simple as going here, I can send rare to like Emiliano or Simone. Just type in the username and then send. Also like would start your Ethereum address or things like that. The information you mentioned is definitely very interesting. For example, how many cumulatively how many tokens have been earned by the community. Cumulatively, how many tokens have been spent by the community? What's the sum total of all the rewards? So we are working on these kind of like dashboards and analytics right now. We are collecting feedback from creators about whether this information should be public to everyone in their community or should it be private only to them, and what kinds of information they want to see and all that. So you'll definitely see some more like analytics about your token as a creator, at least on Roll soon. Unfortunately, don't have a timeline on that. But what I can generally share about Roll, like every token on Roll, like generally is, so we have close to 100 active issuers right now. So these are people who have issued on Roll and have distributed the tokens and have people redeem something for reward. If you have done all of those actions, then you're active. So just over 100 right now. As I said, we have a pretty interesting pipeline of people who are also like in the process of issuing with us. So they filled out our type form. And if anyone, generally like listening to this is interested, you can just go to tryroll.com and we have a type form on the top. You can kind of fill that out. We'd love to talk to more people. And after that, so on the number of users, we have a bit more than 3,000 users on Roll right now. So these are like active users who have verified their accounts, have done transactions and all that. Like inside Roll, have earned at least one social money, and we also track what we call activations. So for us, a user has done an activation when they have either earned social money or redeemed social money for some like a reward that someone has provided, like my art or something, or like a ENS domain, subdomain or something. Or they have sent social money on Roll. So I can like send it to my friend here. So any of those are kind of considered activations. So cumulatively, we have a little more than 25,000 activations on Roll so far.
Clear.
And from an investor point of view, so given the fact that your business model is based on the social money of the users that are issuing tokens. So for example, if I am an institutional investor, I know that you are basically going to raise more capital right now in the next months, right?
Yep.
Yeah, and putting myself in the clothes of an investor, I think, okay, but this company makes money if the social money if the price is going to be up, is going to be higher than before, than the issuing, right? And but social money, generally speaking, maybe it's really cool for coordinating or for improving the community, like with the voting, with the rewards, etc. But it's not a certainty that the price go up with these usages. So the question is, the price of the issuers, the active issuers that you have in the platform, of their tokens, went up over the time, and so the investors are attracted by this, or they are seeing more potential in the future?
No, so it's definitely more potential in the future, and just to also clarify, because we take 12% of the social money, and you're absolutely right, because we succeed and fail with the communities then. So for example, if some of these communities don't become like big and valued and traded, then we on that community we will not make money. But the thing is, like, we also are in the transaction side. So like if we own the whole category of social money, then we have so we can integrate with third-party platforms. We are actually building like a whole suite for third-party developers to distribute and kind of create rewards for social money. So all of this is possible like right now on Roll, and the vision that we're building for the future. So one, social money is everywhere on the web. So other platforms are using it, other developers are using it. Like we have all the users. So the business model itself can change. So that this is not something that's set in stone. But even for right now, so it's not like even if a few communities succeed on Roll, like that's kind of good enough. So if you look at, so we have some of the, just trying to pull that up. So we actually cloned the, oh, did I miss my screen? Cloned the Uniswap front end actually, and then so we have our own exchange that you can see here. So this is just kind of like, again, becoming part of the whole DeFi system here. So my screen's a little slow. But so like Hue that we were speaking about earlier is, it's trading at a certain price on the Uniswap thing. And I should change my MetaMask and I can show you. But essentially what happened was like we provided the initial liquidity for Uniswap, right? Like as you are supposed to, as you have to provide it. But what happened after that is super fascinating because the community then started providing their own liquidity to the token. And as you can see here, we are close to about 25% of the pool share. So 75% of the pool is just community members who have kind of provided liquidity. And this is a fairly liquid token. It's like 45.9, about 46 Ether of value in the pool. So this is more than a lot of other tokens that are natively listed on Uniswap. Even your
other utility tokens.
Yeah, exactly. So we think that community current, this kind of the social money is very powerful. So we see Hue is a little ahead of the curve, but we see many other social monies following that path for others. And so this is called Hiskini. He's an artist from Spain. So like you can see his pool has about 20 Ether as well. So it's not super substantial, but it's not very less either for these small communities.
Clear.
And about the future, are you going to integrate some new features? What's your, best or your difficult targets to achieve this year?
Yeah, so one pretty ambitious target for us this year, but I think we'll reach that, is to really open up our APIs to third-party developers. So what we want to do is, like, because the vision of social money is never was restricted to Roll. We just had to start somewhere, and we have to bring people somewhere to make them familiar with it. But generally speaking, we want social money to be everywhere across the web. So here's like a super small example of a developer who wants to build a product, which we will not build at Roll, but we would like love for someone else to build. So the idea is to have Telegram channels, but only for your community members. So it's not like anyone can join. So it's only your biggest fans. So what they want to build is, before you join the Telegram channel, it will check your Roll balance. And let's say, Italia, for example, let's say you want to do like a private group for only your biggest, meetup followers and supporters and all that. So what you can then do is you can specify a number. So you can say only people with, let's say, 1,000 Italia can join this platform. So then it will automatically check for your balance on Roll. Do you have 1,000 Italia? If it is yes, then you can join the Telegram channel. And if not, then you cannot join the channel, right? So this is like a small little cute application, and that's incredibly useful for some communities. But it's also not something that we think we can build at Roll, because there are potentially like thousands of such small tools that communities can build. So what we want to do is we want to like give the tools to the communities themselves, and they can build a lot of these applications that integrate social money.
So we can expect some sort of hackathon by Roll to build up on top of
Exactly.
Roll.
Exactly. Precisely.
Yeah. So basically, what you are focusing on for the near future is, in addition to raise capital, obviously, is basically look for interesting communities that can be a good bet for the Roll ecosystem, and build something that could be plugged very easily to be an enabler for communities on Telegram, for example, with this kind of stuff, or with paywalls with unlock, or so. Basically, you are asking for external parties to build on top of you, like Kyber, for example. I mean, also Kyber is just focusing on exchanging tokens, or Uniswap, and you see a very big value when you mix several products. So
absolutely.
Yes. Yeah, I think also that Sublier is a good integration that could be an enabler for several use cases. So yes.
Yeah, actually, we are integrated with all of those. So we just had a long conversation with Julian from Unlock yesterday. So we'll try to do something there. Paul from Sablier actually issued Paul. I'm not sure if you guys know this, but Paul is a social money on Roll. So
he is too. Yeah. We know he is working for the V2 version of the Sablier platform.
And this is, for example, Sablier has native integration for social money like you, so I can actually stream you. Like 100 you. I'm not sure what you're assuming that's the thing, and you can. That's not valid, but something like that, and we can do that.
Sorry, Simone.
Hey, sorry, Simone, I couldn't hear you.
Okay, yeah. Did you already raise money, right? With a seed round?
Yeah, so we had like a small seed round in the past, and really. It was really interesting to bring a lot of very different types of people together who believe in Roll. So we had some traditional institutional VCs like Techstars Ventures and Hustle Fund that invested in Roll. And then we had people who we call crypto adjacent. So people like Gary Vaynerchuk, who's a very well-known, a social media entrepreneur in the US. He's part of this. Spencer Dinwiddie from the Brooklyn Nets, who's kind of a very forward-thinking crypto sports personality. He's an investor in Roll, and Arthur Hayes from BitMEX. He actually led the round, the last round. So he's a big investor in Roll as well. Yeah.
Yeah, and in that case, that fundraising was for equity, right?
Yes, correct. Yeah, so we don't have any Roll tokens, and this is like a very traditional startup play.
Yeah. And now you are going to do the second round, right?
Yes.
How many people you have in a Roll?
So we have a little more than 3,000 users on Roll.
No,
and a little more than 100.
No, I think the team members.
Okay. Yeah. So we are about 8 people right now. So we are. So Bradley and I are in New York. 2 of our developers are in New York, and we have a designer here. And then the rest of the team is especially on the tech side, it's remote. So we are very open to people all over the world.
Okay.
Great. I think that we asked.
Yes, and Emiliano, we bombarded the seed.
Yeah. I think that we asked so many things. So the question that we do to all of our guests usually is, do you have any question for the DeFi Italy community? I mean, the users, or me and Simone?
Oh man, I would love to see your community come up with creative ways for using social money. Maybe you can give the best idea 1,000 Italia and kind of have a contest there just for crowdsourcing ideas. And we would love to see this because Italia is very unique. We have very few true communities which are like meetup groups and kind of in-person meetings and all that, which is generally not what we see. So we are actually very, very excited to see how you guys will end up using Italia for your community, and maybe we can steal some of your ideas for other communities as well.
Yeah, I mean, with this token also for trying together with the community, especially for this, I mean, trying the voting, trying the rewarding, trying a sort of DAO, using this token. So I think that we are going to launch some initiatives in the future. Now it's a bad moment for the corona, but in the future we will launch some initiatives like a sort of hackathon integrating Roll or something like that with the Italia token.
Yeah, that'd be so amazing to see.
Yeah. Consider that Italia token are the following, and we just presented it a few minutes ago in another live. So basically, we want to send rewards weekly to the most active users inside the Telegram chat. We already have some of them that are giving a good content, especially when me and Simone are very busy with the work, especially in this moment. But usually a lot of people contribute to the chat. So this would a good, nice way to have a good competition between contributors to push it. And so this is something that we want to do a rank with the 3 most active users in the community and give them some rewards. But at the same time, as Simone said, we want to experiment all the DAO ecosystem, because we think that, especially in this moment, the concept of DAO sometimes is misunderstood and not so. Everyone is able to use tokens. Everyone is able to use Uniswap, Kyber. But as soon as you try more complex product, like, okay, I want to open a leverage position, I want to lend something, now using Compound seems to be very easy, or using idle finance or Torque or whatever. So seems to be easier. So the DAO is something that, to be honest, we saw that is not so explored, except for, guys, for example, from Carter or something like that.
There is also another point on this, that basically we are seeing that all the projects are migrating over the DAO.
Yeah.
And the DAO that right now are, pretty centralized, with the time are becoming more decentralized. So people needs to learn how to interact with the DAO, how to vote, how to take the decisions.
How to be a DAO, effectively.
And this decentralization, we think that the best way is to do formation and to teach people how to interact with DAO, and with the Italia token it could be one of the best case that we can make, because it's our token, and we can manage it in the way that we want to focus for the learning of the people.
Right. Yeah, we would love to help out as well. Anything we can do on our side. It sounds super interesting, and like I said, excited to see how you guys progress on that.
Yeah. Okay, Sid. Thank you very much for this conversation. That it's a new format that we introduced. It's called the Quattro Chiacchere con DeFi Italy.
Okay. Yeah, that's awesome, man. Yeah, thanks a lot for your time as well, Simone and Emiliano. Really nice chatting to you.
Okay. Say hello also to Bradley. Bye, Sid.
Yeah, absolutely. Will do. Bye,
Bye.
Emiliano. Bye, Simone.